Welcome to Open Mic from Modalis Infrastructure Partners, where aviation talks and the world listens. From global airport and aviation developments to disruptive technology, airport investment, and much more, we unpack the trends, technologies, challenges, and opportunities shaping the global aviation industry. Now here's your host, Curtis Grad.
Welcome to Airport IR's Open Mic by Modalis. I'm very pleased this afternoon to speak with Lorenzo Di Loreto, Chief Operating Officer for lux-Airport in Luxembourg. Lorenzo, I've been looking forward to having you on the show. Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. It is really great to be on the other side of the mic for once. I guess we've been meeting in airport terminals, conferences, and so on and so forth. So I guess it's very nice to, as I said, just to be on the other side of the mic and hopefully having a very candid conversation. And finally, we are not running after the same project for once.
Yeah, exactly. And we've been on a few panels together over the years as well. So it's not like we haven't done something like this before, but looking forward to the conversation. So like many of my other guests, we go back a long way. And I have to say, I vividly remember one of our first chats, and that was around 2013, 2014, somewhere in that range. And you were working for Samsung C&T in Seoul at the time. And the reason it sticks out in my mind is that those were the very formative days of Modalis. And I was cooking the idea in my head and talking to people that I knew and trusted and looking for some insights and advice. And you were one of those people. So a very belated thank you, my friend. It was very helpful back in those days.
Well, the only thing I can say is that it is a great memory. And I remember those discussions very well. I guess I was there at the very beginning of Modalis when you had, I would say, the concept, and you were still trying to sketch it out. And hopefully my recommendations were useful. Indeed, I guess what I appreciate is the fact that we've been exchanging not only about Modalis, but the industry overall for a bit about 15 years now.
And the funny part is I feel like I have a geographic memory because I can remember the conversation. We were at a cabin party when I was living in Victoria, and I was the CEO of the Port Authority. And I said to my wife, I have to go take a call from a guy. She's like, it's Sunday. I said, well, it's the only time we could talk. So I'm sitting in my car looking over the bay, and it was a beautiful scene at the cabin. And who knew that was going to be one of the first of many very fruitful conversations. So
it's been great since. That's the only thing I can say about it. Besides the competition, indeed.
The friendly competition. Yeah, exactly. So your time there at Samsung, you largely spent researching the market and airport investment and development, as I recall. And that sort of shaped your path and your industry perspective, I guess, right? You had a lot of opportunity to really engage the market and understand what was happening, right?
Well, what I have to say is that before joining Samsung, most of my experience had been with airlines, Royal Maroc and Air France, where I held commercial and station management responsibilities. So I was understanding airports mostly from a customer and operational type of angle, I would say. So the mission at Samsung C&T was basically twofold. On one end, building the strategy, making sure they were the foundations, meaning the team, different approvals, the budgets, to somehow start pursuing projects. And as I said, the second one was the pursuit of those projects themselves. Samsung at that time had EPC, airport EPC experience. And now the very idea was to go beyond that. Not only, of course, get EPC or be paid or repaid through EPC type of projects or packages of certain projects, but also undertake a role which was much more into the development, investment side of the concessions. So we ended up, as you said, there was a research part of it, meaning developing the network, getting the company ready, having the right strategies in place, the right people as well. So we created a team and having the different tools, methodologies, and the likes for pursuing projects almost globally, I will say. So we were not only looking at that time recent PPP transactions in India, Brazil, but also the initial steps towards the privatization of airports in Japan, Indonesia. This is back in 2012, 13, 14, 15.
Something like that, exactly.
So as I said, the job was about setting up the foundation, having the teams, the strategy, the budgets, and having, I will say, the powerhouse the robustness to pursue airport investment projects, wherein Samsung will have played strategic investment role, meaning not only deploying equity on one end, but also being responsible for a portion of the EPC package or construction work.
Well, and you saw a lot of those players like Vinci and Acon and others. That's how they started. Even I guess CCR to a certain extent, right? They started as sort of EPC and grew into operators, and Vinci being the largest of all of them, right?
That time we were studying the model of Alterra. I don't know if you remember that partnership in between Changi and
Yeah.
Bechtel, if I'm not mistaken, right? So Samsung thought that maybe through a JV with an airport operator, I will not say names because, of course, the conversations were held with a few candidates, but the idea was to have a model like the one of Alterra at that time, wherein you will have a 50-50 combination in between an airport operator and an EPC contractor or an entity mostly involved in infrastructure development. But of course, as you rightly say, there were models to benchmark, Vinci, TAV, and so on and so forth. And at that time, I will not say it was the very origin of GVK and GMR, but those entities were also evolving very rapidly in the industry. At that time, GMR was probably 5, 6, 7 years into the concessions of the two airports they had in India, and GVK was more or less about the same age, I will say, so, or seniority into holding the assets that they had in India as well. So it was a different industry, so to say, with less players, less people willing to go international, but equally interesting, right? Equally difficult and challenging as it is today, especially in the space of concessions, PPPs, and the likes.
Well, interestingly, you raise Alterra because that's part of the Modalis DNA as well. Because Frode Skolber, one of our partners, he was one of the senior people with Alterra at the time as well. So that experience always comes up through some of our conversations within the company as well, right? So in 2016, I guess you moved from South Korea to Germany and you joined Munich International, heading the global business development activities. A lot of interesting projects you worked on there, but what are some of the most memorable and ones that gave you the best sense of satisfaction? You did a lot of hunting back in those days, right?
That's my nature, right? Being a hunter, I will say so. Yeah. Well, basically, moving to Germany was probably one of the biggest professional decisions of my career. I joined Munich Airport as head of business development. That was more or less the title at that time. Over time, I also led consulting, marketing, project management contracts, and eventually became the managing director position, which I held for close to 2.5 years. There are a couple of things I'm very proud of. One is not only the transformation at Munich Airport International, meaning we were 6 and ended up being 200 and something people. It's hard to achieve, especially when you're not deploying capital, when you're basically after consulting projects, management assignments, O&M sort of contracts and the likes. Yeah. That was something that was achieved in about 8 years, 8.5 years, together with a group of incredible individuals at all levels. And of course, the great support of the shareholders as well. But I will say this is one of the things, so the development, the transformation that it was visible. Munich Airport International, which is the international arm of Munich Airport, but also the development that through these projects and this growth that we were able to provide to people. So out of the blue, we had colleagues being able not only to travel, but to do projects of not only OIRAT, which is what Munich Airport was known about, but also now being able to hold management positions and then for 2-3 years and right after support another airport in becoming a 5-star airport. And then a year after just doing someone else's master plan. So I guess the career development opportunity that growth provided to, I would say, dozens of individuals is something that I'm very proud about. And it's indeed something that, as I said, I think about and something that I want to replicate wherever I go. I just try to provide the same type of career development to the people that I work with. So
exactly. Well, and if I recall, you were the highest ranking non-German in the company as well, right?
Indeed, yes.
Exactly. Now, obviously, Di Loreto, that's Italian, but your family, I think you've got some Spanish background as well. Is that right?
It's a bit more complex than that. My father is Italian, my mom is French. I was born in France, but I was raised in Venezuela. And then, of
Okay.
course,
Yeah.
for different reasons, went to Spain, France, Germany, Dubai, Taiwan, South Korea, and now Luxembourg. So it's been a very
Yeah.
international parcours, I will say so, but culturally very mixed or confused at times.
It's
But the
that's what makes
family
life
name is
interesting.
Italian indeed.
After Munich, that was about 8 years you were there. You joined Vision Invest in Saudi Arabia, and that was in 2025. I have to say, I was a bit relieved when I heard that news because, man, you were a fierce competitor. Everywhere we went, almost every project, we would get there, and somehow your name in Munich would pop up. Panama City, El Salvador, Thailand, Maldives. The running joke was honestly like you walk into a room and you're talking to the client. I'm like, I can smell cologne. He's been here before me. It was ridiculous, right?
Not only before you, but with the contract sign off in my pocket. No.
Exactly. So, but I know it was a brief time in the Middle East, but what did you enjoy most about the culture there when you were living there?
Look, what I have to say is that although Dubai was my first time living in the Middle East, I had already spent about 7 to 8 years delivering projects across the region, especially in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Bahrain. Yeah. And in Saudi Arabia, I had a chance of working or actually being part of signatory projects such as NEOMS, Materats, and so on and so forth. So, and what I like about the region is that basically there is a lot of ambition down there. Decisions are made quickly. There's a need to, there is a willingness to apply innovation as well. And I guess there is also all that makes certain hurriness in being
Yeah,
able to
yeah.
bring the airport up to speed, to make sure that the airports are not only good in service quality, but also top airports in terms of passenger development. And this is something that you can actually very much see when Jeddah, Riyadh, and other airports are one of the top 10 or top 20, depending on how you
The
read
desire to
the
be the
statistics.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the desire to be the first and the best, right?
Yeah. And you see that these different awards, service quality awards. But yes, I mean the improvement is just constant. So being there, seeing that, being part of that is just superb. And of course, as you said, the fact of living there was short, but having done projects in the Middle East is not something that just happened overnight. It's just an experience of 7 years, 7 to 8 years, more or less.
You've got to be patient and you've got to have a cultural intelligence as well, right? It's it's got many challenges, but it can be quite lucrative for companies if they know what they're doing, right?
It is, and the market is changing. And I will not say it is changing. It has changed.
Yeah.
It's not about consulting, going and down there and try to provide certain support. It's really about getting involved, long-term partnership. There is a lot of sophistication that is needed in not only the pursuit of project, but in the contractual part of it, but also in the execution of it. Yeah, it's kind of a black and white, I will say, analogy that the way the market has developed from 5, 10 years back to now. And even now, I guess if you go to the regions today, that will eventually be far-fetched past if you travel again in 2 months from now. So that is something really exciting that is happening down there with huge projects and innovation.
There's an inflection point, this Iran
Indeed.
conflict, and we still don't know how that's going to resolve itself. But I
Hmm.
feel like this is an inflection point, and things will look and operate differently, after the conflict. But remains to be seen what that's going to look like. So, talking about memories, we have
Hmm.
this tradition of open mic on sharing crazy stories, and we all have them from the aviation business. And so you must have a few that you can share that pass the censors. But what kind of crazy stories you got to share?
Wow, I guess operational crisis, overnight negotiations, last minute bids, and I guess as yourself being exposed to the last minuteness of the industry as well. That's a bit crazy when compared to other industry or when you get to talk to colleagues working in different industry where things tend to be a bit more phased. There is
Yeah.
still, no matter how complex the industry is, and how process driven it is, there is room for items which are basically falling in or in a last minute fashion. But that's more or less the craziness. I mean, there is hard work, endless time dedicated to improving yourself, educating yourself, but also making sure that the company you're building, the business you're building, the business you're operating gets up to speed, meaning it's able to embrace novelty, changes, and being able to compete because this is really a very competitive industry, no matter whether you are an airport or being an airliner or eventually pursuing projects, let it be a consulting or concession project, competition is very fierce, which may eventually lead to consolidation as well going forward, but that's another topic altogether.
Yeah. But every once in a while, when you do this, we do, and the jobs and projects that we work on, you get these pinch me moments, right? Like for me, and I had a few of them in Jordan, but one was getting an invitation for a dinner from a very pleasant lady inviting me to her house for dinner with her and her husband, not realizing I'm talking to one of the princesses of the royal court. And 3 nights later, I'm in a dinner with a bunch of diplomats and a bunch of royal family members and my wife in the former home of King Hussein, right? And you sit there and you look around and you're looking at all this environment. You go, how does this farm kid from Canada end up in this situation? It's a mystery, and you never know where you're going to end up in the crazy situation you're going to be in. And I remember driving home that night with my wife, and we had different things going on. Like she was split up with another group, and we start. She, like, did you see this? Did you see that? And things like that just kind of stick out in your mind. But do you have any of those kind of crazy moments where you kind of went, "Wow, I didn't expect to be in this situation."
Yeah, as you said, I mean, meeting public officials out of the blue, being next to a presidential candidate, and you are
Yeah,
taken
yeah.
as being in support of that candidate. And of course,
No.
you're not. You just, into a picture for the sake of trying to do a project. But there's plenty of that. But I guess it's the beauty of that you get to meet not only politicians but also royal families, as you mentioned, but also people from different background, different cultural background. It's just enriching you. Huh? You get
The
to
real people, right? Exactly.
well, we are
Exactly.
real people. I tend to think that we're
Yeah,
real
exactly.
people as well from a different part of the industry. But all this is just very much enriching that this is really craziness at the beginning, yes, but it's just preparing you for everything. I guess I guess the thing is that you gotta be comfortable with the unknown in this industry. Every day is just so different to the other day, and you cannot just plan it. I mean, of course, you gotta have certain discipline in planning your day, planning your future,
Yeah,
meaning
yeah.
your projects and your business, but it's just anything can happen overnight. Yeah. And so that's what it is. And so-called craziness, having the chances of meeting people of that type, but being involved in projects of all types, the traveling is just equipping you with the tools so that you can eventually tackle situations which are unknown for
Exactly.
you, or situations you have not prepared for, you didn't go to school for, so to say.
Exactly. There's some of that stuff that you don't teach in airport management school. One of the things and I'm sure we'll get into this later with your current role, but for me, when you're recruiting or reorganize a new team, I used to ask the 80-20 question. I said, are you 80% planner and 20% improviser, or the other way around? And it was interesting because it depends on the position. There's some positions you're able to improvise and figure out problems as they go. And operations people are particularly that way. Yeah, it's good to plan, but you need somebody that also can improvise when things go sideways. But then when you're talking about, sort of finance or things like that, you want somebody that's got a little bit more of a plan in mind. But I suppose you've been running into that throughout your career, but particularly with your on-site management now, there's a lot of also some improvising that's pretty important to succeed, right?
There is indeed a lot of that, but I guess the bottom line is that you gotta be comfortable, or try to be comfortable with the unknown. Uh, that's basically very important. Huh? Of course, there are departments in the management of an airport that are very much into planning. You mentioned finance, you mentioned commercial, but at the end of the day, even though you've planned, I will say, I don't know, a new commercial concept when it comes down to the implementation, things will not happen. Things will not unfold the way your Excel or PowerPoint is telling you. So you also gotta make sure that you have people who are good thinkers, people who can develop concepts, envision the future. But at the end of the day, it's just about the day to day. Yeah, it's really about implementing things in a manner that works for the business. I guess there is a saying that says, "Culture eats strategy for lunch," more or less. But and for this
Exactly.
industry, I will say culture and day to day eats strategy for lunch or for breakfast, even earlier than that. But I guess managing an airport, like it is my role now, at least the operations of Luxembourg Airport is having the, I will not say the knowledge, but having the plan of staffing your team with people that are more planning, thinking, construction part of the business, but also those who are really getting the day-to-day sorted. Because this is a living environment. So it cannot just be about thinking about the future. It needs to be a combination of the thinking and the doing. And you need to
Exactly.
make sure that independently of the department a person belongs to or works for, that person needs to be comfortable in thinking and or equally equipped to think, but also to execute as well. And in the
Yeah.
execution, things will just change. I mean, things will not happen, not necessarily be delayed. It can just happen earlier than planned as well. So it's a bit of, as I said, a
Uh,
living environment. Yeah.
yeah,
So you
well,
need people who
taking
can
that.
handle both. Yeah.
Exactly. When you're walking into a role, the new person tends to change agent. And I guess you've been there for just over 6 months in Lux as COO. And I think it's really your first site management focus. Like you've been doing a lot of global stuff in terms of business development and organizational development, but a bit of a change of pace with a singular focus on one airport. What are your reflections and takeaways so far? It's been a real interesting change in sort of focus for you.
Yeah, now the focus is more on asset, whereas my past is more about, overseeing the performance of three assets located in different locations, having the COOs reporting to myself. Nonetheless, of course, I know the job. I've been a station manager with airlines. I've done airport operations myself as well. But of course, it is really one of the best airports to work for, especially because there is a master plan, which is brand new. And now it's about deploying the capital and implementing what is in the master plan, which will include not only facilities, but some other things. The traffic needs to double. We want to increase the service that is provided at the airport, which is already very high. Nothing against that, but it is very interesting. And I'm working with people who are very much top notch when it comes down to technical skills, operational skills, and so on and so forth. This is just superb. The environment
Yeah.
or the entourage that I'm part of. I'm just very
Yeah.
happy about it.
And honestly, it's, your sort of career path came through the airlines, but once you get that jet fuel up your nose and in your blood, it's kind of hard to get out of there. And I started my career as well. And there's days when you miss it because again, you never know what's around the corner. And even an airport emergency can be a challenge, but it's also one of those things that really kind of keeps you going. Like when you hop in the car in the morning, you head to the airport, you just never know what's around the corner.
I mean, I guess the word aviation tattooed on the forehead, you cannot
Exactly.
remove it. It's just there and will forever be there, I guess. But as you said, it's more or less like something that is running through our veins very much, and
Yeah.
it's really a passion that wakes you up in the morning and makes you go to the airport without hesitation, no matter whether you've been exhausted for due to the amount of works or hours you might have worked the days before, but you always find a reason to go to the airport and be happy about it. Yeah, every day is just an opportunity of looking at things differently, of implementing, of interacting with very nice people, talking about ideas, challenging your thoughts, and finding new ways of doing business and hopefully better. So I guess it's not only exclusive to myself, but we all wake up very happy each morning to be able to work in an industry which is very much like a developer of not only
Exactly.
social well-being, economical well-being, but also peace as well, right? So, I mean, this opportunity of having people meeting each other and all that, this is also creating unity and also creating bonds across regions, cultures, and so on and so forth. So it is an industry that is just top notch in the sense of the value it brings to the individuals, but also each country as well. It
Well,
goes
I think
beyond
part of
that.
it is it's the industry is self-selecting it. You end up, when you're at a conference or you're in a project, you tend to find people, I wouldn't say they're like-minded, but they have the nature of resilience and adaptability, because that's kind of the only way you succeed in this particular business, is you've got to be very innovative, you've got to be persistent, and you've got to be able to adapt. So on that topic of adapting, people often forget, and it sounds very exotic and exciting to be living and working in all these different places, but people often forget that there's always a family involved, and that family has to
Mm.
travel with you and adapt. And honestly, I found it's easy for us to show up at the office and, like, just like you're sitting in your office, and it's a comfortable place. And when the door closes, it could be anywhere. But for the families, they've got to figure out how to live and work and adapt within that culture, and manage the things outside the office. So in all the places you've lived with your family traveling with you, how have they managed to adapt? And your kids are literally citizens now too, right?
I hope they are. It's been
Yeah.
expensive to make them so. So I hopefully they are citizens by
It's an
now.
investment, right?
It is a big investment in this, not only in, speaking languages, but also being exposed to new cultures and getting an education which adds value to them or for whichever path they would like to venture into going forward. But I mean, it is very important to be supported by your family, by your loved one. This is what keeps you motivated as well. It's not only the airport part and how nice the airport is, but also having people behind you, being able to be there when things get a little bit difficult,
Yeah,
because they
yeah,
will. And of course, making the family adapt is also a bit of a challenge as well. New schools, new languages, new friends, new cultures, and so on and so forth. And things get a little bit more complex depending on the age of those kids. When those kids are three,
exactly.
4, 5, that's fine, more or less. But when they're already in a pre-teenage or teenage phase of their lives, things get a bit more complex. But that's what it is. I guess someone who works in aviation needs to have a family behind, or a person behind, a loved one really supporting very much. That's critical to my eyes.
Support you, but also keep you grounded, because things can get kind of
Mm.
crazy, and it's always good to come home and be reminded that there's more than just work, and sometimes all we do is end up working 60 hours a week, and realize that we've been missing things. So yeah, that's especially site management. I found when we were taking over airports, that first 18 months was so intense that
Mm.
you kind of forgot about everything else. But after the second or
It
third
takes,
year, it starts to
as
get
you
more
said,
normalized.
it takes time to really get to know your asset inside out. No
For
matter how
sure.
many airports have you managed and how much you know about the industry, really, really understand how your airport beats it. You get a not only, which is of course part of it,
Yeah.
but you see your asset going through different episodes. Let it be crisis or else or normal operations, to really understand how it beats and what type of changes you want to or you can implement going forward, because there is no book for thinking about the
No.
future of an airport or what needs to be changed at an airport. I guess we all went to school, so we can of course put together a list of 100 items that are to be changed. As we said at the beginning, I mean, there is a culture, there is a day-to-day that eats your strategy out for breakfast, more or less, or destroy it for
Yeah.
breakfast. And
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
gotta you gotta spend some time before you kind of say, I know this is how it beats, because it's not only the airport itself, the asset, but the processes,
Yeah.
all the different processes, all the different SLAs that you have with third parties, all the stakeholders, the shareholders as well, but also your people. So it's a multi-layered sort of living environment that has a way of forming, a way of reacting every day, depending on whether there is regular operations or a crisis as well. So it takes time indeed. It's not a matter of 2 weeks. And then you can start saying, oh, I know my airport, I know how it beats. It goes beyond that big time. And I guess you've gone through the same exercise
Yeah.
yourself with all
Yeah.
the airports you've managed.
Yeah, well, like you said, you need to know the asset, but getting to know the culture, not just
Oh,
the
yeah.
country you're in, but the corporate culture, and also helping shape it or reshape it. And that's, for all the places I'm, from Canada to Jamaica to Cyprus to Jordan to wherever, the airports get slightly bigger and a little bit more dynamic, but it's the same business, it's the same job. And what makes it interesting is the culture and the people and figuring it out. So we're getting towards the end of our story here, but I thought, it might be good to ask you, when you're not figuring out the next big problem to solve in airports, whether it's on the business development side or the operational side, and you're not neck deep in all this stuff, what are you doing for fun and what are you doing for stress relief? Because we tend to
For
forget to do
fun.
that, as I said earlier.
Look, what I basically do is I try to walk for about 60 to 70 minutes every night. It could be at 7, 8, or midnight, whatever, or whenever. This is for me time to talk to the family, the friends, but also just disconnect and try to release the stress. But
Clear your
also,
head.
I must admit that it's not only about releasing, sometimes it's also about planning the rest of the week ahead.
Yeah.
So there is a work that is still connected to those 60 to 70 minutes. But I guess walking is good. For me, it helps me very much. It's not about being fit or not. It's not that. It's just, it's about, trying to be okay with myself and having certain mental health as well, so to say.
The mental fitness is as important as the physical fitness, that's for
It
sure.
is
So,
indeed, yes.
okay. So, wrapping up to the last question, and it's the famous magic mirror, the window onto your
Okay.
soul. 15 very scientific psychometric questions for you. So, if you're ready to
Okay.
bare your soul, we'll jump right into that and
Go ahead.
see.
Let's see.
Okay, so starting with favorite aircraft, civilian or military, current or historical.
Two of them, ATR and
Yeah,
I'm a big passionate of regional aviation, very much.
yeah,
So
yeah.
ATR and of course the Airbus 350.
Okay. Yeah, those are on two different ends of the scale, but definitely good choices. I like that. Like down in the Caribbean, a lot of those ATRs are flying in there,
Oh
the
yeah,
combis, where they got the cargo up front and they got the passengers in the back, which seems kind of
indeed.
weird, but those airplanes they're very versatile. And having there last year through some pretty bad weather, I was happy to be on that thing. It's a pretty stable airframe.
It is very stable and it's a very powerful plane and kind of a
Yeah,
commodity, very reliable. I like it very much.
yeah, 100%. So the three-parter: apples or oranges, coffee or tea, flat or sparkling.
Oranges, tea, sparkling water.
Okay, that's very European. Well done. Okay, now preference: cats or dogs.
Horses.
Okay, well, you're entitled to none of the above. I grew up 125 horses. My father was a rancher, and actually, I just came back from there. We were cleaning up my father's estate, and it was like memory lane. As a kid, I lived and breathed horses, and when you've got 125 of them, there's not much other choice. But yeah, it's something about a horse, man. They're smarter than dogs, and they've got a mischievous nature about them as well. Like they'll mess with you too, right?
I love horses very much. Part of my family was into that business as well, so that's why there is a
Yeah.
connection with it. But it's something I'm connected to.
When I do tell people that I used to be a cowboy, they kind of look at me and go, "Yeah, I can see that." What about scariest animal?
Spiders.
Yeah. Then you might not be spending too much time in Australia. Like when they're the size of a cat, that's too much for me too.
Yeah, I've never been to Australia, so now that you're telling me this, hope eventually this is not going to be part of my bucket list either. So let's see.
Strangely enough, I've not, with all the travel I've done, I've never been to Australia, but it's on my list too. What about favorite classic car?
I'm not a car person, but I like the Mustangs from the 70s.
Yeah, those are nice. Yeah.
You see, there is a relation to horses.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Perfect. Here's an interesting one. Famous person, living or dead, you'd love to have dinner with.
Hmm, I don't know. It could be any person, I guess, a politician or a business leader, or I mean, it's I have. So I would prefer to pass for the time being.
But the list is too long, right?
Yeah, it is somehow.
Um, what about greatest fear?
Hmm. I'll say not being able to board my children.
Yeah, that's a deep-seated one for a lot of people. Something on the lighter side, dessert,
Chocolate cake,
Black Forest.
any chocolate.
Okay, good. Earliest memory.
Kindergarten in Venezuela at the age of 4, just being there
Just
playing with kids. It's kind of very
that's
clear
funny.
image that it's more than an image. It's just like a
Yeah,
short
yeah, yeah.
video of 10, 15 seconds that I have, which is me just being in the garden, just playing with these kids. I don't know. And I can remember how people were dressed. It's really impressive.
It's like Technicolor, right? So, like I said, like this last week of being back at the old family farm, it just
Yeah,
sounds and
it
smells
comes back.
trigger it as well, and you're just like you're right back there again, and and also being there with my older brothers reminding me that I'm still the kid brother, it kind of triggered a few memories as well. But we'll get into that in another session. How about most used app on your phone, excluding WhatsApp or Outlook?
LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's probably one I need to exclude as well because everybody will be going to
Then it will
LinkedIn.
be Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. What about favorite movie of all time?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not a movie person, so I mean there are many movies which I think were important, or are important, or because of the meaning they have, but I cannot tell you one from the top of my head. No.
Well, this is sort of an impossible one, but you get to listen to one song for the rest of your life. What is it?
Hard to tell you. The list is long, and there is a reason for that. Most people do not know this, but I had a DJing business for 4 years, from the age of 12 to 16. So don't be surprised if you kind of see me DJing in some of the airport
That's awesome.
conferences, or
I'll
at
have to
least the
remember that.
parties thereof. But I like music very much. I tend to listen to music on a daily basis, at least for 30 to 45 minutes. When I go out for, the daily
Yeah,
walk that I was telling you about, besides
yeah,
talking to family, friends, and all that. But when I'm thinking, or actually trying to relax and all that, I also do it with music in the background. So I like music. I've been in the well, being in the business is too much to say. People would think
yeah,
that I
yeah,
was a
yeah, yeah.
millionaire out of it. Yeah. You see, I was in the business and I bought an airport. No, it's not it. But I
Yeah, well,
was DJing. I
then
remember
asking you
at a young age.
for one to listen to for the rest of your life might not be a fair question, right?
No, 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 no. Hard to say.
Yeah. So we've got another impossible question. I'm thinking of a
Hmm.
number from 1 to 100. What is it?
8.
Yeah, you're good. And what was the eight significant to?
That's the number I like. I was
Yeah, it's
born on
also the
that
number.
day. That's the number I like. That's
Okay,
I don't know. It sounds shape is perfect. The
okay,
number is perfect. It's
yeah, yeah,
pronounced in all languages, so I like it.
yeah, exactly. Well, I picked it because that you had 8 years in Munich. So there you go. Okay,
Yes, eight and
so
a half years. Yes, I
yeah,
was born on
yeah, so
September 8th. Yeah, so
okay,
1980. So there's plenty of 8 in my
yeah, that's
birthday.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're my ninth guest, and this is the third time somebody's got it right. So it's a much better average than I expected. So
Good.
that's good. We kind of touched on this a bit earlier, but favorite place you visited and your top bucket list
Hmm.
destination.
I guess anywhere that combines peace, culture, and loved ones. That's my favorite place. But about new destinations, this is kind of a surprise to you, I guess. Burkina Faso and Gabon. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much history and culture there too that and people forget about the continent, right? There's a lot of
Mm.
things to see there, and I've got a
I'll say,
number of those countries on my list as well. For me,
yeah,
Namibia as well is one that I'd love to visit.
yeah, yeah. Burkina Faso, because one of my best friends is from there. Gabon, I don't know, I found it exotic. And Nigeria as
Mhm.
well. Nigeria will be interesting. I guess it's huge. It's a powerhouse. Uh, it's got certain culture, not only a unified one, but also there are like 4 or 5 different regions within the country, and eventually more, of course. But I guess it's very rich in culture, in languages, in people, and so on and so forth. So I will say, if I gotta pick 3 from Africa, I will say Burkina Faso, Gabon, and Nigeria. I mean, I've visited some countries, Morocco like 10 times,
Mhm.
Ghana, South Africa, and 2 others. But I guess I still want to go to
Have
Burkina
you been to the
Faso, Gabon, and
Gambia?
Nigeria. Not Gambia, not Senegal.
Yeah, the Gambia is such a interesting place just geographically. It's
Mm,
like a little finger going into the continent. I think it's basically just a river valley, right?
indeed,
But
indeed.
you start looking at these random borders and you wonder how they came to be, right? We're down to the final stroke here now. The 15th
Which is,
question. Your personal mantra in 10 words or
oh,
less.
I have about a dozen of those. I tend to write down things that I think are important or very important in my development, not only personal but also professional. But if I were to pick one, since we're talking about job now or in career development and the likes, I will say that what is relevant is the discipline that you have. And I guess discipline is basically your sweat equity into success, I will say. So
Yeah.
it's not only about how great you are, meaning how well educated you are, whether you went to school or not, how much knowledge you have. It's more about the discipline. It's more about the commitment to just be constant in the way you work, whether you are motivated or not, whether the day is good or bad. You gotta make sure that the line that the fuel that you put into your day-to-day remains equal across the days, no matter anything else. And that's discipline basically. And that's something hard to achieve, hard to sustain. And that has been for me prominent in my success or my day-to-day or my achievements, if I can call it that way.
And I think discipline is also connected to groundedness as well, right? At the end of the day.
Yes.
Well, that's a perfect way to end this
Thank you.
chat. And as I started, I was really looking forward to this, and I'm looking forward to our next catch up, wherever that may be.
Yeah, hopefully not pursuing a project, but indeed at a conference or anywhere
Yeah,
else.
yeah, 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 exactly. Well, at least I won't be in a boardroom competing against you on something. That's a relief. So,
Thank you very much. Wish you all the
well,
best.
my friend, thanks again.
All the best. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Open Mic. If today's conversation sparked ideas or questions, we'd love to hear from you. Visit airportir.com/open mic to listen to more episodes, connect with our team, and stay informed about the global aviation developments that matter to you.